Alright, who's got that Friday feeling? Put a little pep in your step. The weekend's here, and it is time for Sacktap Live. I'm gonna kick things off today. I know in the past I've done a couple weird shit for Mike's Shelf. Got another little fun segment to start shit with. It's called Drawing from the Jar. And I don't know if I told you this, but I've been posting these little notes on Instagram for the I think I put a couple up on the Facebook page too. Might have tweeted one. But anyway, my siblings were kind enough for Christmas to include as part of my gift this lovely 365 days worth of insults, compliments, inspirational quotes, and suggestions. It's hard to read because it's all on a curve. And suggestions of images that will ruin your day. Because that's what family does for family around the holidays. They go out of their way to ruin their day. So I draw one every morning, and I'm going to do that for you once in a while too. So let's see what we have here. It's very exciting. It's the first time this has ever been drawn on a live. I have no idea what this is going to say. Could say anything. Could be a great compliment. Probably a fantastic compliment. Or a powerful, inspiring message to start my day. Let's see what it says. You're a royal watcher. Oh, that's fucking useless. I'm not a royal watcher. You gotta be fucking retarded. I don't understand these people that refer to themselves as royal watchers. It's weird just picking a family and watching, like, observing everything they do. Like, I think... Wouldn't it be more interesting, because, the royal family, they don't really do anything anymore. It's two sons who bang hot chicks and, like, an old lady that everyone's nice to because she's important. She has the divine right of queens. I think it would be more fun to watch, like a middle-class family with maybe a father who's a bit of an alcoholic and fucking around on his wife who's let herself go since having 3 kids, and they're struggling to make the mortgage, and you don't know if things are going to work out. The kid's developing an opioid addiction, and the teenage girl's she's starting to develop, and she's getting attention from guys, and it's creating even more stress, and the Peterson report's due, and then the father's just going to fucking lose it, so he spends another night down at the bar, and then he comes home all riled up, and he catches his wife, fooling around with the neighbor, the teenage neighbor boy. She's used her womanly charms to lure him into the home while the husband's been out. I think that's a much more compelling scene to watch. But in any case, let's talk about the Holocaust, because that's what we're really here for. So a study came out. It's been making the rounds on social media. I want to say Thursday was like Holocaust Remembrance Day or something like that. Here's some 22% of young people didn't know what the Holocaust was. I didn't realize that was fucking possible. How do you... And this isn't like young people like fucking 5-year-olds. This is like 18 to 24. 18! Like literally, you should have just been finishing history class. Like you have recently been in 4 years of high school history class. Didn't get to the Holocaust? What are they getting hung up on that they didn't make it to the fucking Holocaust? 45% can't name a single concentration camp. Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau. That's just off the top of my head. I can name 3. Is that? I don't know if that's like too many or what. But and 15% have never heard of Anne Frank, which I also didn't realize was. I thought everyone read that fucking diary in. I think we read it in middle school, which is a little heavy for 7th grade. Is reading about a teenage girl getting locked up in an attic so she can hide from the Nazis. Not as heavy as being the teenage girl who's locked in an attic and hiding from the Nazis, but still, I think doesn't she get like her first period while she's up there and she starts fooling around with that kid? Well, I guess. I guess her parents could be at ease while they were up there, because if she did start dating, it would at least be a nice Jewish boy. I don't know. Are we? I mean, it was a while ago. We can make Holocaust jokes, right? That's not an aggressive Holocaust joke. It's just a playful jab at Jewish dating habits. The Holocaust was terrible, for the record. Go on record as saying that. So you can't think you can't make Holocaust jokes. This is indeed concerning, though. There was a man much smarter than myself said that if we do not remember history, we'll be doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, and the Holocaust probably one of those mistakes that we'd like to avoid repeating. And this because this was a modern, democratically elected. This was in Europe, like Germany too, not like weirdo Europe way out east. Although getting close. Germans are they're an interesting breed, very efficient, but a little out there, a little extreme for my taste. And I guess it takes an extreme group of people to off 6 million Jews. But the point being, this is how many people do you know who have visited Germany in the past year? Probably a bunch, right? Oktoberfest and such. And this is within the last. People are still alive who went through this. Imagine. To put it in terms of American atrocities, imagine if slavery had been that risky. We still find slavery to be abhorrent, right? Worst period in American history. This is the Europeans have had a bit longer history, but I'd say probably the worst period in modern European history, right, would be the Holocaust and World War II, and the idea that people are forgetting about this, and this has happened since too, and this is would be a good way to segue because it's a conversation I've had with people with regard to the Second Amendment. But this has happened since in was it Serbia? Where's Milosevic running around? They were just lining people up along. They were coming in, gathering everyone up in like the village square, taking the men and the young boys, fucking stripping them down and fucking lining them up in front of a ditch and executing them. Man, that must be. How about that for a mind fuck? Last fucking 11 years old. Last thing you see is your 60-year-old neighbor's dick. Or what about those people that survived those? There's always you always see those like documentaries where some guy with like a thick European accent is like, I survived by falling underneath the bodies of the other people who were being executed, and they thought I was dead, and I held my breath as they walked by and checked us. Is it insensitive to imitate a mass murder survivor? I don't know. We make jokes about David Hogg, and that was like a month and a half ago, so I feel like we can do this. But we're in the Middle East, it goes. How many videos has ISIS put out of them just lining dozens of dudes up like along the ocean or whatever, and just slitting their head in like some sort of horrible synchronized swimming act. So this is very real stuff that goes on. All over. What was it? The Hutu and the Tutsi? Did I get those names right? I feel like I always fuck those up. I don't know which was killing which. Either the Hutu were fucking up the Tutsi, or the Tutsi were fucking up the Hutu. But there was they had that movie with Donald. What's his name? God damn it! Boys, I can never remember these fucking names when I'm on camera. The black dude from Boogie Nights. Fuck. Oh man, someone comment with it. You know who I'm talking about. But yeah, Serbia, the Middle East, all over Africa. This has happened with frequency in the past few years. So it's disconcerting then that the young generation seemingly they don't know anything about this, but they are opining on things like free speech, right? On college campus, they talk about safe space. They want a safe space. Well, there aren't many safe spaces when ethnic cleansing is going on. It's very hard to be safe. Anne Frank, which none of them have fucking heard of her apparently, she was so desperately in need of a safe space that she hid in some fucking attic in Holland until the bitch downstairs ratted her out. Who else? No, yeah, I don't know why the fuck I said who else. There were other people in the attic with her, but yeah. So when it comes to when we say young people don't respect constitutional rights, the civil liberties, things like that, it's unfortunate because this is important shit. Like this is literally we're talking about governments rounding up their citizens and summarily executing them, either and in a frighteningly efficient manner. And I always use the example of the lining them up at ditches and doing, but the fucking Germans had no shit camps. They would pack people into fucking trains. We were in Milan, Italy, just over the summer, and if you go to the train station in Milan, they still have the tracks where Jews were rounded up out of the ghetto and stuffed onto the trains and shipped out to concentration camps. Like, that's how recent. That's at Milan Centrale, the main train station in the city of Milan. So you can imagine this is a bustling commuter train terminal in the middle of the 20th century, and downstairs on track 20, I believe it is, they're fucking herding Jews into cattle cars so they can be shipped off to work camps and death camps. And this is what, people are going about their daily commute all around them. It's just part of, imagine you're taking, who's in New York? You're taking the PATH, taking the subway, or you're going into imagine being at Penn Station and downstairs in front, instead of that weirdo restaurant where the homeless guys like to piss outside of, it's a special track where they're rounding up, I don't know, who do we have in New York? We have every ethnicity in New York City. I mean, we could literally pick one, and you could go to work cleansing the city of it. But what do we have a lot of? I don't know. Effeminate white kids at NYU. Imagine if we had a Holocaust of them, and we were lining them up at Penn Station to ship them out. No, people would probably be thrilled about that. Those guys are annoying as fuck. But no, not to make light of the Holocaust, but that's why it's concerning when you see college students screaming about you can't say this or you can't say that because it violates my safe space. But the reality is we maintain safe spaces by allowing people to say whatever they want. I think a good rule of thumb is that the Bill of Rights is there to protect your freedom. In fact, if you read the Bill of Rights, literally every one of those is about protecting the individual from getting butt-fucked by the government. I think except is the 10th, the one that divides powers between the states and the federal. I don't know, but at least at a minimum the first 9. So to be a 22-year-old and say, well, I don't know shit about the Holocaust. I barely understand that it happened. Oh, by the way, I don't agree with your right to speak freely because it makes me feel unsafe, is like the height of hypocrisy. And then we see the latest movement was back in March. Just scores of teenagers and their parents facilitating it, marching in the streets against the Second Amendment. That's what it was for. It was against the Second Amendment. Because we cut the bullshit. I hate where they give you that little disclaimer where they say, oh, well, I respect and I love the Second Amendment, of course, but I don't think you should have any kind of firearm other than a fucking rusty Derringer that was pulled out of a fucking closet after your great-great-grandmother passed away. These are concerned because the easiest way to oppress a people is to take away their right to freely express themselves and to physically protect themselves. If you've seen the movie Defiance, it's based on a true story. I usually say, don't listen to what they say in the movies. This is one of those ones that's based on a true story. And if you haven't seen it, the sort of the long and short of it is these Jewish brothers in not sure what countries, like Eastern Europe or something like that. The Jews are starting to be rounded up by the local police chief. He's working for the SS and the Nazis, and so these brothers they collect every gun they can get their hands on, and they kill the police officials who are going after them to buy them a few days, and then they all escape into the woods with like every fucking Jewish family from town, and they make their own camp out there, and they fucking hide, and they evade the Nazis. They're constantly being pursued. That's why we have a Second Amendment, so that the people can keep and bear arms to prevent shit like this from happening. Anyone who says, no, it's so we could form a state militia, that's not what they fucking meant. When they said militia, what they meant was like a militia like they had of the Minutemen, who they called the Minutemen because they could be ready in a fucking minute, because they could just grab the weapon hanging above the fireplace, assemble in the town square. Hey guys, the redcoats are coming. These dumbasses are marching down the street wearing bright red uniforms. Let's go hide in the bushes and pop their asses. And they won't see it coming, and we'll all be like, hey, suck it, British fags, suck my dick. Suck my colonial dick, motherfucker. Yeah, I'll pump these musket balls down your throat, bitch. That's from, I believe that's a line from The Patriot. But yeah, you don't want to surrender these, these guys who wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights had literally just been through all of this. Like, they had literally just broken off from a tyrannical government. So they were probably in the best position to say, hey, we want to prevent this shit from happening. And think of the Holocaust is also their motto. I don't know if motto is motto the word to say, their slogan. I don't know. It's not a fucking marketing campaign, but it is never again. And I think the founding fathers would have said that about monarchy. It would have been never again. In fact, George Washington refused to be. They wanted to make him like fucking, king or president for life, and he said, no, this is not a monarchy. We're not doing that shit. We just fought a very expensive, long war to prevent that shit. This country was founded so that we could avoid and escape tyranny, and it's disconcerting to see our young people, one, lack such a knowledge of history, which is why, I'm getting fucking sick of hearing from public school teachers, I can't even, if I have to pay for pencils, you want me to wear a bulletproof vest and carry a gun? Shut up and teach the kids about the fucking Holocaust. You're not even doing your job. That's why you're not getting paid more. You work 9 months out of the year. Your work day is absurdly short, and, you deal with a bunch of fucking kids all day. You just yell at them and scare them, and they shut up. I think there's probably, and I don't know if this is definitely true, but I wonder if there is a correlation between sort of this decline in understanding of our history, that humans are capable of this great evil, and that only we can you don't want to put your safety in the hands of the state, right? Because in these cases, in Serbia, all over Europe, think of Stalin and the gulags and the work camps. That came with communism. Think about what's going on. What's going on in Syria now, and what's gone on all over the world when people entrust their safety to no one but their government. When the absolute power corrupts absolutely, as my high school social studies teacher used to say in a line that he stole from a movie. But if you give government absolute power over your rights and freedom, they will continue to expand the role of government. And eventually, there is a tipping point at which they will become too powerful and seriously begin stepping on the rights of the governed. And that is why we have the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and the Third, to keep so that troops can't have a forcible sleepover at your house, and for, no unreasonable searches and seizures. You can't, You can't be compelled to testify against yourself. We have all of these fantastic things in there to protect the rights of the individual against the government, and now we're losing sight of why we have those things. I think, and we talk about Holocaust here, but I mean, if you look at the way they're treating, by the way, today is Thomas Jefferson's birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Jefferson, America's greatest statesman, in my opinion, responsible for a whole lot of good shit, and they say he pulled some pretty good tail, too. Thomas Jefferson did. And that's not just Sally Hemings, but plenty of other chicks. Chicks just wanted to bang him. They said you talked to Jefferson for like 5 minutes and the panties got soaked. But interestingly, they said that that was only when he was in casual mode. They said like when he was pursuing chicks, he would actually get kind of tongue-tied and a little bit nervous. So what he would do is instead of going up and talking to him, he was just a gangster ass writer. So he'd go up to them at like one of those 1700s like fucking Southern debutante balls, and he would just slip them a little note that would be like, "Hey, I know you're here with your boy, but what do you say we meet in that linen closet and knock one out?" Wow, America's greatest statesman and America's greatest cocksman. Take a seat, Bill Clinton. Yeah, Thomas Jefferson invented sliding into a chick's DMs. I mean, can you imagine a better president? He would have been aghast, I will tell you, at the idea that any American would give up their right to speak freely or to keep and bear arms. And people always say, they had no idea, they didn't know there was going to be an AR-15. That is absolute fucking pish-posh. There were already prototypes going around for automatic weapons back then. They had like these rudimentary machine guns and shit. And you gotta remember, these guys were all of these, the founding fathers were inventors. They were constantly tinkering with and making shit. If you had told them about the AR-15, they would have been fucking stoked. They would have been like, this is a marvel of human invention. Imagine how many British we could kill with this. And Indians, too. So to say that that they wouldn't have believed that Americans should own assault weapons, or whatever you want to assault weapons, like that's a fucking thing, is absolutely ridiculous. And to say that your safety can be hurt by the words of others is also ridiculous. And it seems like that these attitudes are, if not connected, coinciding quite strangely with this dip in knowledge about one of the worst atrocities committed in the modern day. In fact, that many people don't know about the Holocaust, which is like the big one that everybody knows about. Then you wonder, who knows? Does anyone know about the Serbian one? What was there've been a few in Europe in relatively recent times that even I'm interested in history and world events, and I can't think of off the top of my head at 5 o'clock in the morning. So something to be concerned about. So we should again, if we fail to remember our history, then we are doomed to repeat it. But thanks for joining us this morning. Sacktap Live. If you want to find me on other social medias, it is Instagram at Gary_Moiler, on Twitter at Mike Montone, and you can find a fresh episode of The Savage Sacktap is up at thesavagecrew.libsyn.com, LIBSYN, and have a pleasant Friday, and I'll check in with you tomorrow.